flower drawing here. So I picked a couple. Of course, I have probably many versions of. Um, this is one of them. This here is the black ice, but a little different than your typical black ice. I love these. That's kind of almost a bluish, um, rusted look to their leaves. And as it goes down the stem, the leaves get bigger. So the leaves are it's roughly the same shape, but they get to be huge as it goes down the stem. And these stems are 6 to 7 feet tall, and then the flowers on top, and then cluster. And the stems are very, very strong. They're almost woody. And, and then you get this little cluster of runs by. And when they start out, the centers are green. And as it ages, people know on them, like this. They have very long centers. That's why I like these. They're so cool looking. And very grow. You can't eat the seeds. Yeah, late fall if you want. Likes dry conditions. That's good. You don't have to water them. Just plant them and let them grow. The other one I have is the garden box. I'm working. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Is that better? I'll like that. Can you hear it good, or is it crackling, or yeah, turn my off? There we go. You'd think I'd never streamed before. Hey, Mina. Yeah. Ugh. I was out of my garden. I get garden brain. So, as I was saying, these are black eyed Susans, and they have a 7 foot stalk stem on them. Yep, you heard right, 7 feet. And then this is at the very top, and their leaves are smooth and kind of a bluish tinge, almost a powdery look, kind of like you see in blue hostas. That really neat look. And they start out green in the center when they're new, and then they start producing the brown, and this is where the seed comes from. And they like dry conditions, full sun, and they come up every year, and they don't uh, get away from you, meaning they don't self seed so much that you can't keep up. You might get a few here and there, but um, you can keep the seed pods on the flowers and let that be food for the birds in the winter. That's kind of cool because the stems are very, very woody, strong. Hey, Anne, good to see you. So I love these, and some depending on how much water they've gotten through the summer, it depends on how big these flowers will grow. But we had a bit of a drought in the spring, so not quite as big as what they typically are. but they are in the black-eyed Susan family. I'll have to look up the name if I can find it. And then the other flower from my garden are these garden phlox. So I think this one's called Blue Boy. Now, what you're seeing on your monitor is kind of the color they are in the morning. For some reason, and I don't know why, in the afternoon they turn more on the reddish purple side, which is very weird, but it does. It changes color. It must have something to do with the temperature. And these last for quite a long time. Come up every year. Pretty easy to care for. And they will seed, but they're easy to control. And they come in all kinds of colors. I have white ones. I have coral colored ones. I have pink ones. I have one that almost a red. And these grow about 3 feet, maybe, roughly. You can get some that are a little taller, some that are a little smaller, but they're a great long color for the garden. So I thought I would paint these two. It's one of my favorites. I always have well, this is new to me in this new house. I bought this when I was first putting in the gardens just to try, and then I just fell in love with them. Both species are unusual, Kathy. Oh, thanks, Mina. Phlox are pretty common. They're an old-fashioned flower for sure. You can, mind you couldn't get all the colors you can nowadays, but they're awesome. I love them. I love gardening. What can I say? It's my second passion. It's almost my first. I think I do more art than gardening for sure. But I do love them. And the phlox do have a scent, which is nice. So you can sit out by your garden and you can smell them in the air, which is really nice. So this is what we're going to do. So what have you all been doing? Are you trying to get some drawing done in your sketchbooks? Now you can draw these if you want. I'm going to start on this page. I think I will probably put this on this page. Now what I'm drawing is going to be totally different from what you are seeing. And then I'll probably move this one when I start drawing on here so it's not in the way. Do you want me to come in a little closer maybe? Because I'm just going to draw right now. Oh, just lost my chat. There we go. I think that'll do. Getting my chat. Here we go. Am I frozen for you? Well, maybe not. I've got a lag on my end here, so looks a little bit. Okay, so maybe I'll put this here. I'll put the paper under here, and that way you can draw it if you want. So I'm going to draw this one first. How's that?
I'm hiding from the heat. Staying inside today will be fairly okay though. Only 106 degrees forecasted according to the. Oh my gosh. We are such wimps here in Canada, I'm telling you. We we are not accustomed to those types of temperatures. We whine when it hits the high 80s. I'm not kidding. Oh, I don't know how you can do it. Well, you must have air conditioning because can you imagine what it must have been like though before air conditioning? Like, how did they do it? I guess your body must get accustomed to it because I know down here now, right about now, we have a lot of uh, seasonal workers coming to work the apple orchards and the vegetable fields that are around here. And it's so funny because we'll be driving down the highway and we'll see a lot of these guys working in the fields and they have coats and hats on because they're cold. And it's like 79 degrees and they're cold. It's so weird what your body will do to customize, eh? My grandparents and great grandparents ranched in this area. They were tough folks. I bet they were. Man, holy. Yeah, sure not like it is nowadays, is it? So I'm going to start off with this phlox. And I'm just going to put a stem down here just so that I know where I want my flowers to start and end, basically. I'm just going to put a few leaves in, not all of them. Let me just put that up a little bit there for you. Now, I'm going to put some of the um, leaves along the stem areas. What I like to do when I'm drawing botanical, I don't get crazy detailed, but I do like to study the flower a little bit just to see, how are the leaves arranged on the stem? Are they across from each other or diagonal, like up a little bit? All of them are different. And same with the flower. How is it shaped? Is it clustered or is there a specific number of petals? That type of thing. So after that, it's just kind of free form for me. So I'm going to put this leaf in here and it's kind of just wrapping around this stem here that I'm seeing, and it covers the stem a little bit, comes out, and they're kind of long and narrow. So if you have a small eraser or let's see what I think I keep forgetting to bring that darn thing down. I do have some erasers on pencils though that I'll use. And I'm just going to erase any of the areas. Let's see, that's marking. And then I am going to take note of the way the veining goes too. Not all the time do I do that, but this time I will. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of detail in some of them. Some of them do. Now, the leaves are directly linked across from each other. So this one, it's going up a little bit. And now you can put all of the detail that you want in, or you could just have it fairly simple. Maybe I'll put a little bit of the veining in. It does have a kind of interesting veining pattern. So what it does This kind of looks like bubbles. Doesn't go directly to the edge. And they're not totally spaced evenly either. And they're very, some of them are bigger than others. It's interesting. And well, I guess I could put that a little bit bigger right there. It does go fairly close to the edge. So clean your eraser off before you use it on your paper, just to make sure you don't have any graphite or whatever on the eraser, because it'll leave a mark. So there's what my leaf kind of looks like. And sometimes you'll see as you go up, now there is another one that, well, let's put some flowers. I have flowers that are overlapping this. And there's, let's see, they are individual. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. Is it the same? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so there are 5 petals that kind of go in a shape of a circle. So what you could do is just draw some circles on your page, or even ovals, because you're going to view things from the side, kind of. So I'll put one in there. This one, I'm just going to put the circles in. I can always change the shape as I start drawing. So this one here is kind of an oval because I'm seeing it on a 3/4 view, I guess you could say. And then this one here, I'm seeing right on. This one's kind of overlapping. And this one is fairly close to that one. And then I'm seeing all these buds, and I do see one that has the back portion showing. And on the back of it, we're seeing kind of a tube, I guess you could say, of the flower. So I know I can put all kinds of, there's another tube right there. So I could put that. And then I'm going to put a bunch of these little stems coming from this area. So a bunch of little stems. And then on the ends of the stems are the flower buds. They're kind of seed shape. Kind of looks like a seed in a way. But there's a whole bunch of them. So basically a line, and then just an almond shape. Let's say that, an elongated almond shape. You can put some more there. You can also overlap, because they're not going to be all in a row like soldiers. There's going to be a whole bunch of them. So you can put all kinds in here. So there's usually quite a few. And there's also spent little brackets. So they kind of look like this. And they're kind of hairy. So they have an open section. Like that. Let's put some more in here. That. Some of them And I think I'll just slip in another little flower like that. Now I didn't keep one area here open a lot. It is open from what I'm seeing, but I'm not going to go into that much detail. This should be sufficient enough to tell me what this is. So anywhere where we've gone over the line, the center line, you can erase that now, and that should be good enough. Okay. Now what we can do is put our little center. So we have, remember, it's kind of like a little tube. So we'll see different tubes in here. Some are going to be oval shaped because they're more of a 3/4 view. So this one I won't see any of it because the flower is overlapping my viewpoint of the center. And then inside is a little stamen, but we can put that in last. Now, what we can do to show the shape of this, it's not a complete circle. So we can start adding a little bit of a curve. Remember, there's 5 sections, but they're pretty well spaced. 1, 2, 3, 4. To make it a little wavier. And then you can erase that circle. Just take your time. Enjoy the process. And this one I can just leave as is. Maybe put a section where maybe the flower might be separated. This one here, it actually is starting to go over, so 2 of the petals are gone. So then this can be opened up. So those petals are gone because it's an older flower. And we could add more seeds or more flowers. So this one here, let's put that as a bigger flower. So they're kind of wavy on the edge. They're not a complete circle. And then we can erase the unwanted lines. Make sure you erase the lines as you go, because you can get carried away and then forget where they are, and then you get painting, and if you paint over those lines, it's a little harder to erase. Sometimes you can't. All right, so this one, I'm actually seeing part of that flower here, sections. And this one here, this one's a little bit of a 3/4 view, so 1, 2, 3. That's kind of slides in the back there. This one's a little bit wavier. And that. You could, if you want, do this with ballpoint pen if you know exactly how your lines are going to go. A lot of people do that. I prefer using pencil. It's less stress for me. I'm all about enjoy the process and not make things even stressful in my creative art journey. There's enough stress in the life. We don't need to add to that, right? And if you're not getting into it, put it down. This one, I'm just seeing that kind of the edge underneath. That. I'm okay. Nothing in chat. Got questions? Put it in caps for me, and that way I'll be able to see it a little better. Let's do another one here. That. I think that's pretty good for my initial drawing. I can put the little brackets on those buds, flower buds. So down below there's that little green bracket that holds the petals. So you could put those in. That one's a so it's kind of like a third of the shape. Can you see it okay? All right. And now I can put more leaves if I want to. So maybe I'll just stick another leaf in here. See it peeking out. And maybe sometimes there's a little leaves sticking out here too from the center, and that's kind of where a bud starts to form. So you can put a couple of those in if you want, if that's what you're seeing. Alrighty. Okay, that's done. Let's put this over here now. And I guess I could put it over here on the table. It's so big. All right. Let's see. How do I want to? I'm going to draw this little one over here. You can't see it. If I put it on there. Okay, I'm viewing it in a different way. So it's probably, I'm going to make them a little shorter because my page isn't going to fit it. So this one is just going to come up like this. They have fairly, like I said, woody stems and very strong stems. So then we have this big circle in the center, and then a bunch of little now these are very uneven because when they first start to come out, they're kind of just starting to come and make the flower. As it gets older, the flower will look a little better. But they kind of look funny, messy when they're first starting. I find that with echinacea also. This one's folded. And then I have this other one a little bit longer. They're all different sizes, which is kind of strange too, but it is what it is. It's just how they grow. And then this one here, it's a little bit wonky. And then there's this one. It's a little narrower. And then this one, a little fatter, and then goes real skinny. And then it's very sparse. But I do see these little, in between the flowers are these little brackets, that green part that holds the bud when it's in bud form before it opens. And there are lines. So you can put that in if you want, or you could use your paint to add that. Did you see the lines in the petal? All right. I'm just going to put this over here. And you should be able to see that. And let's see. I'm going to put this guy, turn it a little bit there. So then there's this little guy right here. And here's those little brackets. This is one that's just starting to come out. So it's a lot smaller. And I'm looking at the shape that it's making. And they don't even come out in a straight line either. Kind of quite wonky looking. This one's a little bit fatter, but it's folding over, so you're not seeing the full length. And then these tiny little guys, little petals. And this one here, it's a little bit wider. So quite the wonkiness. Okay. And then this comes down like this, the stem. It's a little bit thinner. And then it attaches to the other. So that comes up like this. It's a fairly thick stem because it was the main flowers on that stem. So the stalk is quite a bit bigger. Let's make that a little straighter. Not as wonky. A little bit straighter. But that does go like that. And then that goes like that. Now I'm seeing the flower on kind of a side profile. So I'm going to put this centerpiece in right here, and it's fairly large, and it's kind of spiky looking as it goes up, and then uneven, and then a smoother area of the stamens that haven't come out yet. So I'm only seeing one side of the petal area. So I'm getting some foreshortening because of the petal. So you look at your shapes. You're doing foreshortening. This kind of goes over. But they're not going to be big because they're foreshortened. Seeing the side of that one. And then this one here. This one's a little longer because it's starting to turn, and I'm seeing it on the side now. This one goes up, and then like that. And then I see just a little bit of one in here. It's only the side of it. This here, I'm seeing this crossover. And this one is a little bit on the foreshortened side too. I'm actually seeing it cross over this stem area here. So I'm seeing a little bit of the top, but not much. And then there's another one behind it. And I'm seeing it on a side view. And it kind of hides behind this one that's in front of it. And then there's a longer one right here. And again, I'm just seeing the side of it. And then just a little smidge of one right there. Now I do have, maybe I'm going to bring this stem down. This is what you can do. You have the right to change. This is just a reference. So you have a right to change how things go. You don't have to do an exact drawing of what's there. So this is where the leaf is attached. So I see a bit of the side and goes up like that. And then I do see a little bit on here. Goes up to a point there behind that petal. And then kind of cups. Goes down like that. So this stem part I don't see because it's inside that leaf. So I can remove any of that stem area where the petals are overlapping. So fix any of your lines that you want. Okay, this can come down now like that. That looks pretty good. All right, I think that's good. Hey Ruth, good to see you. We're just doing some flowers that were from my garden. Um, now, let's see. I suppose I could take a picture of this, right? Let's see. If you want a picture of the flower so you can draw them, I can put them up on my membership page on Patreon and YouTube. It's only if you just want the drawings on Patreon or YouTube membership, it's $2.99 a month, and you get to download all 2 years worth. um, now, Patreon now has uh, a shop which they just opened, so I can actually put in some of these and videos that are on Patreon if you just want the video, which I thought was kind of a good idea. Okay, I think that's good. So we're going to stick to the same colors. Now what I like to do is use a kneaded eraser and just take a little bit of that graphite off of those drawings, just so that it's not so hard looking. And all you do is you can either roll it or you can just swipe it, and it just removes a light layer of that, but doesn't totally take it off. So you're still able to see, but it's a little easier on the eyes when the graphite's a little bit lighter. It doesn't take away from your drawing, but depends on you too. You may like that look. You do what you like. I may come back into it with some ink, maybe, so the lines wouldn't matter so much because I'd be using ink over it anyways. I think you guys can still see it. Where did I put my brush now? Oh, there it is. So I like to do a variety of different ways of painting: wet into wet, wet into dry, dry into wet. And sometimes I break out my colored pencils and do a little bit of fine tuning on it, which I like to do. Quite a few of my paintings are done with finished with colored pencil. Hey Ruth, did I just say hi to you? I'm getting in the zone and I forget what I've said. Now I could put a bigger leaf right here if I wanted to. Um, I think I'll leave it as it is. I could always write stuff around here. Um, depends what you want your pages. Like this is one page I did for July and wrote the names of the flowers. You could write, depending on what you're using it for. Is it just something that you can enjoy and create in, or is it going to be an actual garden journal where you document stuff? I I just like working in it to enjoy what I'm doing. All right, let's get started here. So first I want to do this phlox. garden phlox. So there is some white around the center. Now I can either leave white or whitish. There is a little bit of a color in there around the center and let it bleed in from the outer edge. That, or we could try putting gouache on it too. Um, I'll do all kinds of stuff. I'm not really a purist as far as watercolor is concerned. So this is kind of a blue. I'm going to get this dioxazine purple. Very, very, very strong. And I'm going to mix some, I think this is manganese blue hue to it. And let's put some alizarin crimson in there too. See what we get. Now it's getting close. Maybe a little bit more. And I like to take a piece of paper. Let's see what I got here on my desk. I should have one somewhere that I can use. Where can I? Oh, I could put it. Well, no, I need a piece of paper. I'll just put it on my napkin for now. Let's see. Nope, needs to be more blue in there. Might need magenta. Just play with your stuff until you got a good look. So a little bit of magenta in there, I think, is what I needed. Yeah, that's pretty darn close. So more of a magenta with maybe a little bit of dioxazine purple would be good. And then we can also put a hue of blue in there too. So let's start off with this one right here. So I'm going to actually just wet my paper. I'm going to stay away from the center, but I'm just going to go around the edge of this flower. So I want to try and save some of that white along the edge. Then I'm just going to drop this in and let the color do its thing on its own. Let it paint itself, basically. Now, because this is sketchbook paper, it's not going to soak in like it would in watercolor paper. So you have to keep in mind what kind of paper you're using, because it'll give you different effects. Now, with a clean, damp brush, now I could take this and just brush it in towards the center. And it's just a little bit more of a control thing. And then a little water in my brush. Now, if you were using watercolor paper, this would be very easy to do. Same thing, wet brush, and then just bring it into the center. Let's see what it's going to go through. Yeah, it is. Good thing I didn't finish that. Okay, so it's going through, so let's try something new. Let's try just painting it on dry. And then taking some water while it's still wet and just bring those edges softer. So control your water. Okay, it's a little lighter, but not exactly what I want. But let's try this one. This is where just play. Play in your journal, whatever paper you're using, experiment with it. I like to push the limit of what you should and shouldn't do just to see if I could do something else. That's just how I roll. I like to experiment. Okay, that's not bad, doing it that way. And then just a little bit of water on my brush there. Okay, I learned something. This one here, do the same thing, just around the edge. Gotta know your paper and your paint, how much water you're adding to your brush, and that comes with practice. Just playing, having fun. Soften the edges. Leave a little bit of that white on the bottom or in the center. So I want that. Dry brush. Just clean water now. Just going in and softening the edge. Yeah, they are pretty. It's fun just to play and see if you can paint and draw the characteristics of the flower. It's not a botanical illustration by any means, but sometimes you don't need that. The mind's eye will fill in the blanks. Okay, that was a little bit too wet or too dry. And we can always come in with gouache or colored pencil and add a little bit more to those colors. If you find that the center isn't light enough, we'll use colored pencil or gouache white. Let's see if we can bring that back. This one is the one that lost its petals, so it's missing a couple. Now I can't remove with sketchbook paper, so if you're doing this in watercolor, you could also remove that center area. I think probably I'm going to switch to a watercolor journal soon so I can show you how to use the watercolor the proper way in a watercolor paper. But I just thought this is a great way of playing with watercolors because you don't always have to have the best paper and the most expensive paints. If you're just starting out, this is all you need. I know a lot of people probably think I'm wrong, but everybody learns differently, right? And nowadays, we need to use what we have already because things are really getting expensive out there as far as paint and paper. At least I see that in Canada. What about you guys? You find that the paper and paints, art materials and craft materials has gone up in price? It's crazy. And things also that we're unable to get anymore too, like lots of colors being discontinued because they can't get the minerals. So back to using your stash. I have a bunch of mixed media paper, and I know mixed media paper is excellent for watercolor. So if you want to try that out, try mixed media paper. A whole lot less expensive also. Okay, that's doing pretty good. I gotta get enough paint for this. We'll see. Yep, just have to do a few buds. And the buds are really, really, actually, they're fairly light. They're just, I'll show you in a minute. It's the tip that's got most of the color on it. So I find that you don't need a whole lot. And then let that dry. You don't want to add the green around that because it's going to bleed into it. So while that's drying, let's start on the other one. So there's what we're going to be doing. Now this one, let's do a really bright green. So the center of this is kind of green, and then these little dark brown areas. So I'm going to do this leaf green by Da Vinci, and I'm going to dull it down just with a tad of red. Not too much. I don't want it too grayed down, but I do want it just slightly. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I'm just going to do the very centers of this first with a nice, I don't think you can see, well, there's some areas. This one's got a little bit of a mist area of whatever they're called, stamens. And then we have those little brackets too that kind of sticking out in between the petals of the flower. Just seeing a little tips here and there. And I can put a few in here too. I forgot to put some in, but we can always add them. Okay. All All right, and the stem is fairly light, but it's almost got a little bit of a hue of blue in it. So I'm going to mix a little bit of Daniel Smith Perline Green to this mix. And it'll give me a little bit of a hue of blue. Okay. And this is going to go on the stem. And I'm doing wet into dry. Now the thing about watercolor too, if you didn't know, they dry a little bit lighter. So sometimes if you want a really dark coat, you'll have to add a whole lot more pigment. So you got to keep that in mind too, of the how dry or how light it's going to end up drying. Let's put this stem in here like that, and this one here. Can't believe it's August already. It's crazy. Let's get rid of these notifications. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, now I can't do any more to the green, but the yellow is a really intense, almost a, let's see, I think I'm going to put, this is Indian yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of green in there just to change it slightly, and I'm going to maybe even a little bit of Hensa yellow. Just trying to find my way, so to speak. Yeah, that'll do. And I'm just going to paint in these petals with a base coat of this color. And then we'll darken some areas, and if we have to, we'll lighten some areas by adding gouache or colored pencil. Very bright yellow. It's almost got a little bit of a green tinge in it. I like a lot of control in my painting, as you probably know. Even in my acrylic painting, very detailed usually. It's just, I like detail, so I tend to lean towards it in most of the artwork that I do. It's always nice to experiment too with new ways of doing things. I really like Impressionism, Impressionists paintings. Just love that look. Let's see. Kind of style do you guys like? Are you a detailed person or abstract, loose, impressionistic? realism. So many different ways of doing art nowadays. So this is very beginner friendly way of painting. You could also use gouache um, instead of watercolor if you want. And if you don't have watercolor, you could always use a watered down acrylic paint or craft paint will work also. If you want to give that, still get a kind of a watercolor look to your pages, just water down your acrylic paint. Here we go. I think that's good. I find it hard to see all the colors in something until they are pointed out. That just comes with practice. The more you do, the better you get at it. I know exactly how you feel though, because I remember feeling the same way. Everybody goes through it. Okay. I'm just going to give this a shot of heat to dry up and we'll play with this again. All right, now with this, get my plant out here again. The green is a little bit darker and it's more of a permanent sap green, I would say. I have one here from Daniel Smith. Should be good. I'll just mix it with that other green. And I'm gonna add some to the leaves. So the center of the leaf is kind of lighter. So we could leave that space where the vein would be. You have to have a fairly steady hand and pointed brush, but have no fear. Just do your best. If it doesn't work out, there's always gouache. Or colored pencil. I went over it. A bit darker in here. And add a little bit of that praline to it. That'll darken it even more. Not a whole lot because I don't want it to go blue. Kind of curves around the stem there. And this one here, just going to go around those little florets of the spent flower. We could also paint those in or do some pen work. That. Bit of a stem there. Just kind of doing some negative painting around it. Where that that hey Paula, good to see you. Yep, it's watercolor, but I'm using it on a sketchbook. I'm not fussy when it comes to paper. I use what I have. I missed a flower here. So I'm just going to paint this one in. That. It's an assortment of watercolor too. Daniel Smith, Core, M. Graham. So this is the back trumpet part. So if you see the backs of them, they're a little lighter. A little bit lighter. Oh, here, one of them fell off. See how they're a little trumpet. There is some color, but not a lot. Okay. And the center is a little dark. So I'm going to get some of this magenta here. Just put it in my spot here. And I'm going to just put a little bit of this green with it. And mix a little dark, kind of a maroon color. Right in the center. Just put a little bit of that in there. So it is dark in there because it goes down into a tube. We can always add the little stamen. They're so like tiny, you can hardly see them. You don't have to add that, but you could if you want. Depends how much detail you want to go for. That. Yeah, I like doing experiments in sketchbooks. It's fun. Now the stem on that is almost the same color, so we'll probably add some highlights and some shadows in the stem. I like to study the plant. And does it have lines? Is it shadowed in there more, so it's going to look darker? So let's add some of that darker color right in here. And those little spent flowers that they leave the little leafy part that holds the flower. And those buds also have that leafy part showing. Put them in. I'm going to put a bunch more stems in if you want. Here and there. This is pretty congested inside. I'll show you in a minute. Inside the area. So you could put a whole lot more in there if you wanted to, just to show that it's very, very packed full. but you don't have to get like super detailed as far as counting every single flower and bud. Just give a representation of what you're seeing. It's the way I go anyways. Let's see. There's one here. Okay, so this one is going to be a little darker because it's up against this leaf here, so we want a contrast in color. This is the spent bloom. That little bracket. There's nothing left on it. But we do put some more in here too. So that would be fairly congested. There. Okay. I have to leave, but I'll watch the rest. All right, Mina, thanks for coming and have a fantastic rest of your day. There's, we'll let that dry now. So let's go back to this now, and I think what I'm going to do, let's do this leaf here. It's a very, more of a bluish colored leaf. And I can put a light. It's not real dark, but it is light. Let's see if this is going to work. And it's darker on the inside here. And then it's lighter on the outside. Yeah, that should work. So really pale on the outside. A little more than that. Okay. And a little darker on the bottom here. There's kind of like little ripples. Like that. I have to head back to work in a minute, but I will catch the replay too. Okay, Paula, thanks for coming. Looks good. There is kind of a brownish line going up the stem a little bit, but I'm going to wait. Let's try and tackle this here. So there is stamens on it. See the little bright yellow areas? So I want to put some of those in first. So let's do this Indian yellow. It's almost the same color as the petals. And I'm going to dot. It's mostly around this edge. So I'm just going to dot. You could do this with gouache too if you wanted to. If you don't want to be bothered doing this dotting. But it's mostly around the top there. You can put a few stragglers around here and there. Just random. That. And then we have a really dark brown. Almost black, it's so dark. So I have Van Dyke, no, burnt umber right here. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of indigo in that to darken it even more. I want it fairly dark. So as that dries, we're going to do this one over here. So this one. Let's alternate. There, do you see it? So it's green and a little bit, they're very, very small. It's little dabs, a whole bunch of them. Now you can look at them in a way that to see how the pattern is running. There is a pattern into that, but you want to take the time to do it, that's great. That'd take me too long, so I'm going to suggest it. Now it's fairly concentrated around the outer edge because of the way you're viewing it. It's foreshortened again. So a little bit more of a concentration of that brown around the edge. And then as you go into the center, a little bit further apart will give that look of it sticking out in front of you. Same with on the bottom. Like that. Yeah, I think that worked. And the same with this one. This one is facing a little bit on a 3/4 view. So the concentration will be around the top and sides. And then this center area right there is where there's further apart dots. Just because of the way you're viewing it. Like that. Now with this one, it's very dark in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the dots. I want a good dark color. And I want enough on my brush. So let's get a nice dark. And I'm going to do the same, but this time you have to go around all these dots that you did, right? So try and do that. And along the edge, they're long, so you can sweep it up a little bit so there's a little bit of a curve line coming off of your brush to represent that long stamen or whatever it is. This is why you have to have a really nice tip on your brush. Now, if you find that you're not getting enough difference between the yellow and the brown, or you could just paint it all this dark brown and go in with a nice opaque gouache of yellow and just put it in. But it's always good to try things first. Don't always take the easy way. Try it first. And then if it's just not working for you or you don't like it, then you can go in with the second plan B. It's always good to try. And I might, see, go in. These dots are pretty small, but we'll see what happens. Try it first. It'll be darker around the edges, same as the other ones. So a little bit more of a fuzzy edge to them. There was a little area that, where'd it go? It had a little bit of a green area that didn't grow the way the other stuff did. So kind of like a area right there. But still want to go around the edges. Dark. I'm sure there's probably millions of different ways of going about doing this, but this is what I am trying, and if you find a better way of doing it, leave a comment in the comments below. I'd love to know, because we're always learning. Doesn't matter how skilled you are, there's always room to learn more or find out something that is new that can improve what you've done before. There's always something new. There's always improvement that can be made. That's what I like. The dots don't run together. Well, with this here, see there is highlights on them. So what I'm doing is I'm concentrating on the darkest parts, which is inside. And then I'm probably going to go back over it with a little bit of a wash of a lighter brown. And that way, that white won't be sticking out so much. I could also go back over it with the yellow in a gouache. It's fairly dark though, but I do want to leave some of the spaces for that lighter brown color that I'm going to glaze over top. If you understand what I'm trying to do. Okay, and then there is a little bit of a, these are the ones that haven't opened yet. Put those in. A little bit darker on the sides again, where they would be darker because they're more concentrated looking because of the view that you're looking at them. It's like whiskers on a chin. Ever look at a man's beard? And when you look at the edges of the beard, it looks more concentrated. Same way of doing that. Okay, let's see. So let's give that a dry. All right, so now with a lighter brown, very watered down, extremely watered down. We don't want it dark. And just put a glaze over top of that brown area. And that should, and we can always go in with pen too. Like this is just playing. A lot of times I will go with pen afterwards, but we'll see. The consistency of the paint on the brush. Do you pick up the paint with a drier brush, less water mix in the paint? When I'm first putting those dots in, yes, my paint consistency was thick. So less water on my brush, so a drier brush, and more pigment, less water in the mix. And then when I'm doing the glaze on top, a lot of water on my brush and the pigment watered down. Okay, so there it is so far. So we can still go in there, and after this dries, we could go in there and put another coat of even darker. Or you can use pen. I'll show you what, I'll probably show you what I do with pen. I've got some sepia ink that I can use. Now, with that same brown light, a light wash, I'm going to put a little bit of that in my stem. Very, very light. Very tip of your finest. You could use a number 2 or a 0, whatever you find easier to handle. So it's just a little bit of a different, let's put some green in there. A little bit of a different line in it. It's just a bit of, not much, but there is a bit of a difference. Okay, so let's do a little bit of work on these petals. So the petals, there's shadows making the ridges. These shadows can be done with a little bit more green in your yellow paint. So I've got that green here, and I'm going to mix it in my, it kind of dirties your yellow. You want a dirty yellow, basically. Okay, and it can be light, or you can make it darker by just adding water. So there's shadows. I think I'll add a little bit more shadows in your petals. And I just like to put a little bit of that green in it, dirty it up. And then take a look at your, I've moved my flower so it's a little bit different, but just put some lines in that you see. And we can also put highlights in too, because there will be some highlights. Underneath, if there's any overlaps, you'd get a little bit of a shadowed area in there. They're not like densely ribbed, but there's about, I don't know, 2 or 3 ribs would be sufficient enough, I think. And make sure they're going the right direction, that the petal's growing. Just gives it a little bit of extra detail. Oh, sorry, got the flower in the way. There. So there's a little bit more in the near the center of the flower, of course. Where it narrows down. Again, just use the very tips of your brush. Shadow in there. That. Okay. I think I'm going to put a little bit more of that dark green in here. The inside part of this leaf. It's kind of cupping this stem. And then a little bit of that blue-green underneath here. That'll give it a little bit of a shadow. Just in there. Maybe a little bit there. That. And I'm just taking my brush with that blue-green mixed with a little bit of the other green, whatever you have on your palette. And I'm just using the belly, well, halfway, and just making marks along the leaf where this from the stem up, and then just pushing it across, and that kind of gives rapid, kind of shows like it's bubbled, like this. Take one of these leaves. There. See how it's kind of bubbled? And just adds a little bit of interest. So it's very easy to do a quick rendering of a leaf. I'm going to just use a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to go down that white strip of a vein. So I don't want that bright white. Okay. Okay. Now these are too pink, so I'm going to add alizarin crimson. No, quin magenta. And I want it to put some French ultramarine blue with it. Yeah, that's a good color. And make these a little bit darker. So, a little bit of water in my brush. They're just a tad too light. That's what I say, the watercolor dries lighter. So you gotta really look at that or understand that. Just draw a damp brush. Oh, this paper is really bad for softening edges, but try your best. This is a soft brush too. We'll see what happens. I might have to go in with some colored pencils. Definitely gonna start using watercolor paper. Show you how easier as far as blending can be with watercolor paper. But it is doable with this if you just want to play around. You have to be kind of quick. This is what I like doing watercolor in my journal. I'll show you some that I did. I think it was last year. I did a challenge, and it was just watercolor and colored pencil, and I really enjoyed it. And it was a lot easier than I thought when you use colored pencil to more or less do your what would you call it, details, I guess, with the colored pencil. So use your watercolor when you're using sketchbook paper is more about the base coat, if that makes sense. up here. But like I said, it's all about learning. Let's just have fun. All right. Bit there and here would be dark because it's underneath. And right in here, be darker. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So we'll let that dry. So let's see what we can do with this here. Let's see if that's dry enough. Yeah. So I do have this is a Unipin fine line, and this is a 0.5, and this is waterproof. Great pens. I guess it's 0.5. I don't know if I want that big. I really like doing details with smaller pens. 0.5 is probably the biggest I'll go. What's this one? That's a 0.5 too. Let's see what I got. I might. Who wants sepia though? I don't want to go into a black, I don't think. Now there are different types of sepia color too. I don't see one in here. Well, let's try this. It's fairly dark. So what you could do is just go and scribble circles, kind of random patterns in and around. Leave some of those white spaces, or not white, but those spaces. And this will give you more depth, representing how fuzzy it is. And you could also put some more of those fuzz balls in. And I'm going to probably go in and put in a few more of the yellow stamens in. There. You could flick out some more of those if you want. Depends how fuzzy you want it. See, a little bit of pen work. What else? I could even go into the flower and just emphasize along the edge there where it would be the darkest. Just a little bit. Don't have to put it all in. Don't have to do the whole thing either. It could be just bits. Okay. And then I think I could put, let's see, do I have my, no, I don't have my, just looking for my wash in white. I must have it upstairs. So I could do a Posca yellow. Why not? Let's see if I got a Posca in yellow. Yep. I want a bright yellow. Yeah, that will do, I guess. Just to bring those little, they are fairly bright where the pollen is on them. That's the bright yellow. So just a few. They can be different sizes too. Remember, they're mostly around the top part where it's just started to bloom. Actually, this brown part is the flower, not the petals. Daisies, a lot of people think it's the petal, but it's not. Each one of those little I can't talk and speak at the same and paint at the same time. I'll show you in it what I'm talking about. Is this bright enough? Good. Okay, now this is a really nice bright yellow, clean bright yellow, so you could use this as highlights too. Okay, so be a little bit of a highlight on there. And right there. Mostly on the ends, you'd see a lot of the highlight. And a little bit on the top part where they're curved. You'll see highlight. So wherever you put those green marks, you could put a highlight. Look at that. Of course I put my hand in paint. That's me. And one down there. Now it does soak in, but I think it just leaves a little bit. Now you could get a white if you wanted to, but you would have to put a bit of a glaze over it, I think. I think it might be a little bit too bright if you just use plain white. That. So more or less following the lines of the green that I had put in there. Just gives a little bit, not a lot, but it does help. I could probably even go lighter, but let's see, what else? I gotta paint all of them up because I always put my hand in paint. All right, so let's get our colored pencils out, and I'm gonna pull, let's see what color this is. It's not a bad color. Okay, this one is mulberry. It's a Prismacolor. So I could just go around the edges and just lightly feather in because of that white area, that white ring. You can just put a little bit of a darker area in here. So I'm just following the pattern, bringing some of that pink, purpley pink back in and feathering it into the center, towards the center. Just it gives it a little bit more interest. Just have to make sure you're always looking in what direction they're running, or it'll look a little odd if you have them going in the wrong direction. A little bit more shading here and there where there's overlaps. Just brings it together a little bit more. Oh yeah, I was going to show you my other colored pencil and paint. So all of these are colored pencil. And watercolor. So it just gives it a nice look when you use a bit of colored pencil in your birds and whatever you're doing. Yeah. But if you want to just do watercolor, that's fine too. Whatever you're going for as far as what you want out of creating with watercolor. Maybe you're challenging yourself. And I'll go back in with lighter color, blend some of this back in. I think this is a great way of learning how to use your color pencils too. Mixed media. I love it. Yeah, that's what it needed. It was not quite the color of the flower, but now it's very close. A lot closer than it was. I went through the paper. Must have been still damp. Oh well. That happens. Just little tips. Darken. Yeah. Okay, and then let's see. Probably a light. I could go white, I guess. Right, white in the center here, just to lighten and blend those in. Because that is a fairly light center there. Kind of like a halo effect. Gotta be careful not to rip my paper here. It's not quite dry. It's fun though. I think it makes a huge difference when you add your colored pencil. How many of you use colored pencil in your watercolors? Or are you a purist? Love the look of the pencil on top of the watercolor. Yeah, it just, I don't know, see, blends it in, and I like it. And you can get a whole lot of detail. Let's might have a little bit, can lighten some areas here. Maybe if that, I don't know. I think I'm gonna add just a bit of a shine down here though, in the center. And there's not much of a shine on the leaf. And this is kind of dusty looking, if you know what I mean. But I do want to put a little bit of a shadow on a little bit of a shadow. Under here. I've got a number of different types of colored pencil too. I just got these a while, last year, I guess. And they're the Bert Booner. And they are really good. I really like them. And very inexpensive. So if you're looking for some, because boy, did colored pencils go up in price. Like, whoa, crazy price. I think I saw you can get the 180 for $55 on Temu. I know some people don't want to use Temu, but they're not paying my bills, so. Pretty hard to buy something twice the amount because you want to be loyal to such a racket. Just a little bit darker in here. Just get that. And really, a lot of the stuff on Amazon is third party. So they're getting it from the same people. So, and if you knew how shipping imports really work, you'd be surprised. So my brother's a importer exporter. Most of the stuff that's being made in Canada or United States, even though it says it's made in the US, it's not. They can label that if one tiny little thing is done. So if somebody packaged it, it's made in the US. So there you go. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Just makes a few adjustments in here where it would probably, I could even put a little bit more pink in there just to represent flowers that might be in there. So you would see the backs of them. I think it's done. I like it. Just going to put maybe a couple lines with that. They are kind of stripy, textured, ridged. I'll show you. See the ridging on it? There's a little bit of different colors. Brown. All right, I think let me think. Am I done? I want this a little bit darker. There. Maybe white Posca for the little just a little dab on the center where those little stamens come out. Like that. I love the look of, okay. All right, so there it is. I think I'm done. So if you would like to see more of this, let me know in the comments below. And make sure to comment because that pushes anybody that streams or does videos. The algorithm picks that up and it helps push their video ahead. Looks. Thanks, Lena. Hope your attacks are going well. Yeah, I like doing these. I think they're fun. And I love adding the pencil and the pen. So I guess it's a mixed media watercolor. All right. So I will let you guys go. Oh, good. I'm so glad, Ruth. Get that sketchbook out and I don't know, grab some weeds even. Who it doesn't matter what it is, just try something. All right, I'll let you guys go and you have a fantastic rest of the day and be creative in some way. And we'll see you on Thursday. Bye for now.